I got a comment on the studio channel, one of my 21 Pilots videos, about how after the recent Summerfest show that Tyler and Josh did in Milwaukee.
I don't know why we just made hard eye contact.
I don't know.
Just go.
They did a few interviews, right, with different people, and they did this one where fans submitted questions. And it turns out we have a new piece of information about who Trash the Dragon is. If you're not familiar with 21 Pilots' new album, Scaled and Icy, on the cover and in the music videos and in a big part of the Dima lore, Trash the Dragon has been front and center.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
We all know about this. He's a bluish dragon.
Yeah.
And so I cut together a few clips to kind of walk us into this new idea, and then it kind of ends with this new piece of information, which is quick.
Okay.
I'll acknowledge it's quick, but it does kind of change the whole
lore.
concept. The lore. It changes the lore for real.
What kind of dragon is he?
Actually, there's freaking fans that figured it out.
Oh.
He's a morphing dragon. Sometimes he could have 4 legs and wings. Sometimes he could have 2 legs and wings for arms, and sometimes he doesn't have wings and he swims, which we've seen in all 3 music videos.
That's cool.
We've seen that version of Trash in all 3 music videos.
Is he as cool as Puff the Magic Dragon?
He might be cooler. Let's watch.
He might.
Might be.
That's a big stretch.
Clancy, Dead, Scaled and Icy. I'm down a rabbit hole of conversations about what does Scaled and Icy mean, the inspiration for the album title. Is this something we created, or is this a world that you guys genuinely created, right? Is this like fan fodder, or is this real?
We like to make every aspect of what it is that we create have meaning to it. I think that it's a bit of a wasted opportunity to create something. And for our music and our albums, there's always a backstory. There's always something going on.
That kind of
behind the
dragon
scenes.
with the arms.
If our fans wanted to ever dig into it and discover something, there's something there to be discovered. And so that's something we've always felt was inspiring for us as we continue to create. Look for inspiration, and so creating these stories, creating these timelines, and just a narrative for the music to live inside of has always been something we've been excited about. So yes, to all the things you're saying, and it's all there, and a fan wants to look into it and dive in, it's there.
Which we have. This was back in May, before the album.
It represents the creativity and the imagination that I was trying to capture during the
creativity.
record. Like we talked about how when you're confined to one space, even the tiniest detail, if you focus on it long enough, can come to life.
This is what came out a few days ago.
How did he come up with Trash the Dragon? I think he came up with us.
Yeah, he came up with us. No, actually, in Dima, a trash dragon is kind of slang for a vulture. Little tidbit for you.
Okay. So, slang for a vulture. Believe it or not, hold on, let me skip through this. So, believe it or not,
Over 600.
sorry.
Come on.
Vultures was the album cover for Trench, the album. There's a bird, it's a vulture. So we saw back in May, he revealed that their creativity symbolism for Trash the Dragon, like as the album was coming out, they released that information. This is recent, and I haven't heard anyone make this connection. So this is like, it feels kind of like something he's giving to the fans in a quick little bit to nudge us along. So he said in the Dima universe, it's what the people of Dima refer to as a trash dragon as a vulture. And so since we know this is propaganda, since we know everything's being, I guess, guided by the villains for this album, well then Trash the Dragon is actually a positive force because, and we saw from multiple music videos, the bishops, the villains, they don't like this character. It's a danger to them, and they're almost using it as a slang word as far as like when you reference it. Does that make sense? And the in the song Levitate from the Trench era, there's a lyric that says, "Don't feed me to the vultures, I am a vulture who feeds on pain." And so that's the only mention of vultures in the Trench album, but it was on the cover, the vulture. Yeah. And now we see on this album, the cover is Trash the Dragon. So if we kind of take that roughly, I'm sure you can go deeper into it. Tyler said in the Trench album, which was Rebellion Against the Bishops, "I'm a vulture who feeds on pain," then maybe he's himself a vulture. And if they're saying trash the dragon is a slang word, or trash dragon is a slang word towards a vulture, and that might mean it's kind of like referencing Tyler himself. You know?
It's also, it's also something that they despise, people generally don't care for vultures, and calling something a vulture is oftentimes a negative thing. And so referring to the dragon as a vulture, they're referring to what he said in that one clip, creativity and, inspiration as something that their fake culture doesn't deem, important.
Or even dirty, like they look down on it.
And dangerous.
Yeah, and if they're saying that his creativity is essentially a dirty word for what he's like, if they're saying a trash dragon is supposedly a dirty word in Diva, essentially, that's kind of the point. And if they're saying it means a vulture, well, we saw from Vulture that it's Tyler, and we know trash is Tyler's creativity. It's literally what's going on in his mind. If you watch the Wiseworks Studio channel, I did a breakdown from the Shy Away video where I had an interesting theory about the symbolism from that music video. And if Trash the Dragon is creativity flying around inside of Tyler and Josh's mind and in their literal neuron pathways that causes the creativity, causes the inspiration, well, then they're saying that Tyler's creativity is essentially trash. You know?
Yeah.
And they're obviously suppressing it. They're trying to control him, and they're demeaning him in the process.
Yeah.
And so it's an interesting thing. I mean, no one has thought of that.
Picking up these things from the 21 Pilots lore, which is kind of what you do.
Which is what I do.
You love to find these hidden meanings.
I love clues. I like treasure hunts.
That's absolutely a clue.
Yeah.
That's absolutely a clue.
Yeah, and it was so quick because he said Dima. He in interviews, like, they rarely ever mention Dima. They're always just talking about, what the album means in regards to writing it during the pandemic or something. Yeah. They always keep the Dima stuff secret.
Yeah. Do you think also why they don't talk about it in interviews as much? Because they have this plan of how they're going to release it. And if being that it's probably live or even like an interview that someone else has the copy and they can manipulate the footage or something, then they don't talk about it because they don't want it. They don't want them to slip up and say something or not release it in their way.
Because this has always been Tyler and Josh's idea from the beginning. The album, the Fueled by Ramen, their label, they had to pitch it to them to allow them to do this.
Yeah.
It wasn't the label's idea. And so this is Tyler and Josh is kind of constructing this as they go. And I'm sure maybe they have a friend or two, or maybe a couple people that are helping them along the process. But this is not like something the label itself is doing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's only been one interview that I've heard Tyler talk at length about Dima in general. And it was during a podcast with fans that was just audio only for the Discord link. Or the Discord, I guess they call it a Discord link. Is that what they call it?
Sure.
But they essentially created a link for 21 Pilots fans where they break down all the Dima stuff. And that's the only time I've heard Tyler come on and talk at length about Dima stuff. Every other interview they did, like, it was a struggle to find what I found. Like that bit at the beginning and then in the middle and then at the end there that just came out. They don't ever talk like this. This is like anomaly stuff. And so, it's pretty cool. I think it's something that you have to contemplate now because they just made it more deep.
Yeah.
Making it more complicating. And I love it.
Interesting.